Zero Sum Game, Episode 2, The Barn. The barn takes place hours after the protest, as Maeve, Viv, and Jazz are driving to Maeve's barn. But Viv is unsure whether she can trust her with the organization's plan. Maeve's eyes begin to get heavy as she continues to drive from the Capitol gates. The shock is still setting in. Okay, she thinks. Go over what happened today. Jude and I went to the market in Halifax. We witnessed a protest. It went bad, and for some reason, I'm driving the heads of that protest to my house to stay the night. This is ridiculous, she thinks. Why am I doing this? Just a bit longer, the girl says. The sun lights the sky a deep grapefruit color as it begins to set in front of them. How far is your place from the city? Viv asks. Unlike what many believe, the Farmlands is one of the only places that she and Jazz haven't been yet. Just a few hours, she replies, keeping her eyes on the road. A few hours, Jazz asks, taking the thought right out of Viv's head. It's not that bad, the girl sighs, looking back at the two for a moment. I like the distance, especially now. She's right, it's a beautiful hour. The sun has fully lowered behind them, lighting the sky with beautiful and deep pinks, oranges, and reds. We're heading west. Correct. Irritation strings through the girl's voice. We're headed west because that's where I live. That's where the Farmlands are. I'll keep you two in the barn for the night, so you can rest. She's right, Viv thinks. West of the capital is the Farmlands. The Farmlands are filled with food suppliers, those who make cotton and silk. They basically control all the irrigation in and out of Halifax, and the landscape outside of her window is beginning to reflect that. High grass, cattails, an abundance of grapevines, rice fields, orchards. This part of the continent is so vast and beautiful. I wonder why we've never been to this part of the world yet, Viv asks herself. It's so peaceful. After what seems like forever, she finally pulls up to her home. Okay, Maeve sighs in relief. We're here. She pauses for a moment to look around. She parked in the back so Jude couldn't see them, but she wanted to make sure. Looks like he's not up. Thank God. The farm might not look like much, but she loves it. The land consists of a white 2-story house with a dark gray angular roof, a chimney, and a small porch. A few strides from the house is a maroon-colored barn that is a little over double the size of the house. Past that, towards the front of the house, is a large vegetable garden with potatoes, carrots, radishes, and all sorts of other food, as well as an apple orchard right where the eye can't see. Maeve remembers coming here as a kid, her parents and Jude, and loving the escape from the cities and bright lights. Who's not up? Maeve hears from the back of the car. Oh, my brother, Maeve stammers. They hardly know anything about her, and she doesn't know what more she should share. He was at the market with you today, right? One asks. Yeah, Maeve replies. He's here, they ask simultaneously. Yeah, obviously, we're family, Maeve says, stepping out of the car, slamming the door behind her. Aren't you two coming? she asks, attempting to change the subject. No, Maeve immediately replies. Why not? Because we could get caught. You won't, Maeve exclaims. He never uses the barn anyways. I'm always the one doing chores in there. Right before she opens the barn doors, she looks back to the girls she's harboring for the night and see an exchange between the two she probably shouldn't have seen. They both look concerned. As I said before, I'm not with the police. You can trust me, she says, turning back to open the double doors. Just know that you have my support. Ugh, what's that smell? Viv asks as she walks into the barn. It smells like mulch? Garbage? She's unsure, but it's absolutely disgusting. Have you ever been in a barn before? The girl asks. It always smells like this, she laughs, turning to Viv and Jazz. Really? Viv asked, shocked. And no, if it isn't obvious, we haven't been in a barn before. This, I think, is our first time in the Farmlands, which is crazy since we've been city jumping ever. Viv cuts Jazz off. Hey, we talked about this, Viv says, giving Jazz a slight shove as they sit down on a pile of hay. I remember, Viv. Don't worry. I wasn't gonna say anything revealing. Good, Viv says, sitting down. We don't need an inconvenience on our hands. More of an inconvenience than what we have on our hands right now? Jazz asks. I didn't think our protest was a complete failure, actually, Viv explains. It may not have gone as planned, but at least we got noticed. That's all that matters. It only matters if everyone is safe. We don't even know where the rest of our people are, and I'm assuming our little protest will be viewed as a riot by the rest of the city. Only because of your poor planning skills. Looks next to her and notices that Jazz is standing again, far away from Viv, leaning on the closest wooden pillar to her. It's not like we could have predicted the amount of security today. I mean, things don't go our way all the time. I mean, we should have left when I said so the first time. Viv stands, brushing the hay from her jeans and walking over to Jazz, trying to read her, but not getting anything. Look, I'm sorry, she says, cupping Jazz's face in her hands. She still won't look at her. I just want us to be heard. Can't you understand that? Jazz nods. I get it. I just don't like the route that you took. She can feel Jazz taking a breath, finally looking Viv in the face. Promise me you won't do anything like that again, Jazz says, pulling back from Viv and holding out her pinky. Promise me. Viv bites her lip. Okay, fine, Viv says, suddenly aware that they're being watched by the strange girl who brought them here. Whatever, I promise. Alright, well, Viv says, unsure if she should have said anything. I can imagine that you two are quite tired from the protest. There are some wool blankets in the chest over there. She points to the left of them, to a large oak chest. You can use the haystacks for beds for tonight. She begins to step out of the barn. Her growling stomach reminds her. Hey, Do you two need any food or water? I don't know about you, but I know I do. They look a little surprised that she asked. Sure, if you don't mind, one says. Of course I don't mind. I'll be right back. They both nod and head, with their pinkies still intertwined, towards the chest to get blankets. I wonder what their history is, Maeve thinks. There's gotta be a good story there. Maeve walks out of the barn and closes the door behind her, heading towards the house. Fresh dew, and it brings back memories of when she was younger. When her and her parents would come up here for the summers. It would always feel like a sanctuary. The fresh grass, the cat's tails in the distance. She would always imagine that cats were attached to each plant. The field of cats, she used to call it. Jude would always make fun of her for it. She laughs, rounding the corner to see, as old and rusted as she had left it this morning, the front porch leading up to the front door. She opens the door quietly to make sure that she doesn't make any sound, and finds Jude in his normal napping spot, fast asleep. She sighs. There he is, she thinks, fast asleep in the living room, arms crossed and feet on the ottoman. This makes her smile. He's always like this when he's worried. Stress sleeping, she calls it. You know, I may just be talking to myself here, but I just wanted you to know, she says before pausing. I wish we didn't fight so often, she says, putting the blanket over Jude's shoulders. Truly, I do. If you just see my side of things for once, Then she laughs and heads over to the kitchen. I guess that I wonder why you're so hard on me is all. Is it truly because you care? She looks down, taking a breath. I just wish, I don't know, that we could be normal, that Mom and Dad were still around, that you didn't have to take care of me. Not that I don't love it here. She pauses, looking around. Because I really do. Maeve looks back at Jude from her spot in the kitchen. It's just hard without them, you know? I know that they weren't the best parents, but I still miss them. And I know that you do too. I hope that you know that you're doing good by them, she expresses, holding back her tears. Right, well, she says, clearing her throat and grabbing some bread and fruit. I'll just, take this food and go, she says, speeding out the door as fast as she could before her eyes swell even more than they already have. Hey look, it's klutzy, Viv says, trying to lighten the mood a bit. Since the girl had left, she and Jazz had been left to silence. I wish I knew what she was thinking, Viv thinks. If only Jazz knew how much this project meant to her. That's why she can't back down. You know I have a name, right? The girl says. I know, but you never cared to give it to us. The girl laughs. Well, the name's Maeve, she states, handing out some bread and fruit. And never call me klutzy again. Got it? Viv looks to Jazz, who was laughing lightheartedly for the first time in a few hours. It's nice to see her like this. Thank you for the food, Jazz says, smiling and nodding to Maeve. Sure, she says. Do you mind sharing your names? Jazz nods and says with a mouthful of apple, Yeah, of course. I'm Jazz. Nice to officially meet you. Maeve smiles back in solidarity. How about you? What's your name? she says, looking to Viv. I'm Viv. Nothing more to it, just Viv. Do you two have a plan after tonight? Like, another place to stay? She asks. She's been wondering that since she got back to the barn. Yeah, well, Jazz says. We're heading home. And where's that? Maeve asks, curiosity itching at the back of her brain. Viv and Jazz look at each other, and Maeve can tell that they're contemplating whether they can trust her. I don't know if we should say, Viv explains. You know, we do appreciate you helping us, but we don't know if we can trust you, Jazz finishes Viv's thought. Again, we just met you. So this is about trust, she says. Okay, fine. But like I told you, I'm with your cause, Maeve explains, pleading with them to reveal something. We're not sure, Viv explains again. How can Maeve prove her loyalty? You know what? Fine, Maeve says calmly, an opportunity finally showing itself. Let me tell you a story, she continues, hoping she won't get emotional from the thought of it. Again. A few years back, my parents, brother, and I went to the annual New Year's Eve celebration in the capital. It was a treat, as we had a horrible year, and my parents wanted to give us something special, something to look forward to. And at first, it was amazing. The lights, the music, even the Chancellor was going to be there. But later into the night, Maeve begins choking up again. A swell of tears burned behind her eyelids. You don't have to continue if you don't want to, Jazz says. Well, I have to, Maeve continues. I have to, so you can trust me. That night, the one that I'm telling you, it was the first of the 7 massacres. Unfortunately, neither of my parents made it out alive. Maeve stands. We've talked about this in years. Not since their death, and especially not with Jude. Look, the people that night, people that were supposed to protect us, all of us, weren't even there. They were the ones who killed us. Well, my parents, anyways, and my brother, I don't know, my brother likes to keep hope, but Maeve stammers. I can't anymore. She turns, tears streaming down her face. Wait, Maeve, come back, Viv says. But at this point, she's out the door and out of earshot. We should talk to her, Jazz suggests. She nods, and they head out after her. The cold air feels nice against Maeve's hot skin. She can't hold back her tears anymore. They're flooding her system as fast and as furious as she lets go. The sky is so beautiful this time of night. Maeve turns to see Viv and Jazz standing next to her. It is, Maeve says, looking at the sky above her. The stars like jewels above her. You know, you didn't have to tell us anything, Viv says, resting a hand on Maeve's shoulder. Maeve smiles and takes in the silence for a moment. I know, but you wouldn't have believed me or trusted me if I didn't say anything. Maeve looks from Viv to Jazz, and then back up to the sky. I don't know. Even though I just met you, I had this gut feeling that you both needed some sort of proof, something. I don't really know why. It's just a feeling, Viv sighs and takes a seat on the grass below them. No, you're right. As I said, we don't trust many people. Maeve and Jazz then sit down with her, and Viv looks to Jazz for confirmation. It's all because of what they did to our home. This has been Zero Sum Game, Episode 2, The Barn. I would like to thank Adobe Stock and Ben Sounds for all of the music that you have heard throughout this episode. Please join us next time when Maeve makes a decision that changes her life.